it going? In this video, we're going to talk about your final project, and I'm going to try to explain it to you so it makes a little bit more sense than just when you read the assignment. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a surreal image in Photoshop. And a surreal image essentially is a fake image. And it's kind of what we've been doing for the past couple assignments. It's essentially going to be a composite, except while I'm going to provide you with a little bit of something, it's really going to be up to you to build out and flesh out this entire assignment. It's completely, it's completely up to you in many ways. So it's going to kind of go like this. I'm going to provide you a bunch of backgrounds to our campus. So let's just kind of go through them. So I have some outdoor scenes, as well as some indoor scenes, and you're gonna be able to pick any one that you want, and you can choose to have some sort of something happening inside of here. So what I mean by that is, if you want to, let's say, take a picture of the gym and have a spaceship crashing through it, then cool, go ahead and do that. But you gotta make it look as real as you can. Even though it's a fake image, it does have to feel like it's real. So that means that you should have, obviously, the crashed spaceship. You should have fire, maybe some explosions, possibly people running in terror, maybe some like little green men with ray guns, that sort of stuff. That's what you need to have to do this. So and that's all of them. So you've got a lot of choices that you can make. And while I'm going to supply you with the background imagery, you can get all the images off the internet. And let's talk about that for a few minutes. So let's say you want that spaceship crashing into the gym, and you do want the aliens with, like, the ray guns. So the best thing to do in that instance is to be really specific about the kind of alien that you want. So let's say you go to the let's get the internet going here. There we are. And you go to Google and you type in aliens, all right, or alien. Let's see what's going to give us. Then we go into images. Okay, so I have kind of these sorts of aliens, these ones that have, kind of like shiny eyes. I have, xenomorph aliens. I have some lady alien. I have some funky drawing of this sort of alien. I have ET. I have all sorts of stuff, right? I have this weird guy's face ripped apart, all sorts of stuff. If I type in green aliens, then I get a bunch of green aliens. Hey, there's the guys from Toy Story, right? Okay, so more stuff. Now, if I type in a specific kind of alien, so like Mars Attacks aliens from that movie, that Tim Burton movie, hey, check it out. I get those aliens, and specifically those aliens. So if I go to Tools, I can go to Size and Large. And now they're only going to show me the large pictures that I can use. And I want to think about, what's going to work. This thing here could work possibly, where I have this alien right here and it's about to shoot, or it's shooting a ray gun. That's something that could maybe work. Or maybe this one here, this Martian, this could maybe work. Whatever I pick, what I want to do is I want to make sure I want to go to view image, just like when we were doing the cartoons. So I want to go to view image, and I want to go ahead and I want to save these images. I don't want to open them directly in Photoshop. I want to save them to my desktop. And my computer's lagging a little bit. So I'm going to save these to my desktop, and I'm going to create a folder, a resource folder of all the images that I want to use in this project, rather than just dragging them into Photoshop one by one. This way you have just a base group of images that you can use. It'll just work out a lot better for you. So I'll just drag this off to my desktop. And again, if you have a PC, it might work a little differently than that. But here's my Mars Attack alien face. So I'm gonna make a new layer, or a new folder, and I'm gonna call this Surreal Image Resources. And I'll go ahead and I'll throw that in there. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find all sorts of pictures that could work. This might work. It's a toy, but it might work. It might be detailed enough where I can turn this into something that could work. And again, my internet's really kind of lagging tonight, so that's why it's not loading up as quick as it could. But so what you want to do for sure is you definitely want to go ahead and get a bunch of different images that you can work in here. Now, back to these and populating them, we're going to need 7 different images, not the same ones, but different ones to go ahead and live inside of these environments. And you can utilize layers, layer styles, layer adjustment layers, blending modes, opacity, anything like that. You can use different effects, filters, anything you want, anything you've learned in Photoshop to kind of show us your desired effect. And I want to show you some examples just so you get a little, some ideas of what you can do. So I'm going to show you some ones that are, pretty successful, and then ones that have some, just some problems. And I'll go through them all. All right, so here we have an interior of one of the buildings at school, and I want to say that this is actually this is one of the more successful ones because it has a theme to it. This is all from video game BioShock. So we have this little girl right here, and then we have these statues here and here. And then outside, we've got kind of this looming threat with this kind of like almost like water. Oops. And then we have this banner that's hung up here. And over here, we have this kind of luminous iridescent flower. And you can see how it's all dark, but this flower is giving off somewhat of a light source, which is pretty cool. Over here, we have a new resident of our dorm getting ready to go to school. So we've got this dinosaur, and they're rocking a sweet tattoo, and they got a couple. They got some shoes on, and headphones, and they got some Beats they're wearing, their sunglasses. They got their Starbucks, and they're listening to their iPod. It's funny because the iPod is old, and it stands out that way. It's like the original iPod, and that wouldn't work with Beats. So things like that, little details like that, they will get noticed. While I really dig what they did here with the dinosaur, I think that's really fun. Oh, they also changed the background here too. While I really like it, everything was done just to the dinosaur, and nobody here is even looking up. So even if this was the norm, and let's say that this is Dorothy, right? When Dorothy walks past you, you're going to just kind of look up at her because, she makes the ground shake. So this feels like it's like a sticker that just got slapped onto the image. We really want it to interact with the image a little bit better. This is pretty creepy. This is one of the classrooms, and as you can see, what they did is they went ahead and they put this feeling that there's peeling paint and this "Find Them Fast" written on the wall, and this kind of ghost girl. I think she kind of looks like the girl from The Ring, and then there's just crack, in the floor. This was a live action version of an anime called Attack on Titan, and what we have is we've got this person and this person, and they utilize people that go to comic book conventions and do cosplay. So they utilize those photos. So that's a pretty cool idea. And they, on top of doing their scene, they went ahead and they put this old piece of paper on there and kind of made it and this kind of rip in it. So it's kind of it's the ancient kind of scroll that somebody found of this. Okay, so here's a first person kind of Star Wars themed image where we have these big AT-AT walkers and a load of stormtroopers and clone troopers. And so, we're the first person in here and we're shooting at these things, which is pretty cool. Here we have a knight walking up to potentially fight this dragon creature and maybe this little elf woman. We've got these kind of runes in the background. We've got another flying creature, maybe another dragon. We've got a castle. We've got a reflection in this pool. And again, over here, that's the gazebo on our campus. So, it's just kind of weaving these like elements into the image. Here, it's very similar image to this one. It's not the exact one, but it's similar. Here's that kind of loop that we just saw, and here's the sidewalk, and here's the trees on campus, and then we have all these pumpkins, and this is a scene like right out of like Cinderella. Cinderella's running from the ball, and like here's her coach. It's not quite the pumpkin coach, and there's Prince Charming kind of looking for her. And then a couple, these are girls most likely that just had prom dresses on, but we're thinking that they're girls going to the ball maybe. This is fun. We have an image here of, I want to say that this is, it's a first-person video game shooter. I think it's Black Ops, and that's what all these heads-up display is, right? So we have like how many bullets are left, and like like the map up here and stuff like that. And then I was told these are all Halo folks. I don't play Halo, so I don't really know. But there's this cool barricade here, so it looks like there's an actual action scene about to happen. Here we have somebody who's tagging up the campus. And it's snowing, so they've got this kind of cool background there. There's a plane up here. This is a lake, and you see the reflection of the plane in there. Here we've got this is right near Warren Hall, one of the administrative buildings on campus, and we have this epic scene from Zelda going on, where they've completely taken a bunch of stuff out of the background. They've made it all purple. They've got these people fighting. This guy here. They've got again the map. They've got like the lives up here, and the points and stuff and what level people are at. Another video game one. These are very popular. This one's interesting because we have videogamer.com, so it actually looks like it's just like this is a still on the website. That's kind of fun. We have the Warren County Home for the Insane, and it tends to be these insane clowns. So it's this is a really kind of crazy, kind of surreal image. There's lightning, and lightning is making like trees kind of like, hitting the trees here, and like you see their leaves are kind of exploding. There's just kind of like, things all over the ground, and just these crazy killer clowns everywhere. And so those are some of the ones that are pretty successful. Let's take a look at some of the other ones, and let's talk about them. Now, this one here isn't bad by any means, but it's just the pictures they chose, the lighting doesn't seem to really work, and like this is kind of fuzzy, and all of a sudden we see things like this. I see this every now and then on these images, and I call them stickers. Like, let's put a symbol and let's just put it on a building because I need to get up to 7 objects. But let's do that count. Okay, here's 1. The background is 2. This guy is 3. This one is 4, and this one is 5. And you need to put a minimum of 7 different objects in here. So there's just not enough. Okay, so this one definitely has got the amount of objects, and it's surreal, but it's just too surreal. It's just kind of out there and weird. So, what we have is we've got this water here, and then we've got these boats in the water, and then we've got this cityscape, and then we've got this crazy kind of like planetary background happening here. And then we just got a girl, and she's just sitting here for no real reason. And then we have this woman walking with this other little girl. And then for some reason we have a shoe. And we have popcorn laying here. But this is a fresh roasted peanuts car. And there's people inside of there, and they're super small. So like it doesn't make sense. Did they get 7 things? Absolutely. They're all over the place, though. They're random thoughts, and they just don't feel like they go together well. So when you look at this image, it just doesn't feel right. So this is a fun image. This was actually somebody in the class a couple years ago that somebody took a picture of them running, and the run is just hysterical. It kind of looks like it's just a comedic run. And again, there's 7 images here. There's 7 pictures, but these xenomorphs, these aliens that they have here, this one looks like it's interacting well with this subject, but the rest don't. Like, this one doesn't look like it's interacting with the subject at all. It looks like it's just kind of there. And if we take a look up here at this little like face hugger alien, right? So this building has 2 levels, and so this is sitting on top of the second level, but its tail just kind of goes over the or the first level. So it's just one of those things where it's kind of like a just like stickers on top, and you want to really get away from that. You want to incorporate your things into the image more and more. Here's one. Hey, look, it's the Mars Attacks aliens. Kind of funny. And the reason why this is kind of my unsuccessful list is, well, it's kind of all over the place. We've got kind of like this kind of like rough kind of texture here. We've got R2D2, who frankly like doesn't really, he's white and blue, and that almost looks like black and white there. And then we've got Wally. Okay. And then we've got the Mars Attacks alien, and you see how fuzzy it is? It's because they didn't get a big enough image, so they had to scale this thing up. And this is supposed to be in the foreground, and it's super fuzzy. And then there's Wally kind of in the middle ground, and he's crisp and clear. And then they've got like a somewhat of a faceless Superman going on in the background here, which is kind of just odd. And then like a Millennium Falcon, and some sort of satellite, and then a big old antenna dish, or excuse me, antenna here, this big old dish, and then the Batmobile. Again, it's all over the place. It's surreal, but you should try to, in a way, sort of tell a story. It makes it feel better. It makes it feel more believable. This one here, again, all over the place, and we don't have 7 objects. We have the Death Star, we have the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, we have Moon Knight from Marvel Comics, we got some guy, I think he's from like World of Warcraft, we've got a cat, and the cat is holding a sword. That's 6 objects. On top of that, let's take a look at this. See that crack? See those leaves right there? See the fact that this wasn't color corrected? See this thing? You know what this was? When I took this image 10 years ago, what this was I was driving in my car, and this was, I think, my side mirror. All right, I was doing like a big no-no in photography, but I left it there because, you know what? That's something that we should be able to easily clean up utilizing Photoshop. And this person obviously decided not to do that. And again, 6 objects. There's not even 7. This is where the wild things are, and this is not bad at all in any way, shape, or form, but I don't think this is campus. I think that this is just a bunch of, cut out images from where the wild things are, and they're collaged together. You have to take the background of campus and you have to really kind of morph it into something, which is also the problem here. While this, I think, is done okay, in fact, there's some things that are done really well. All we have at campus is this little patch of grass right here, and you need more. You need some sort of thing that ties it in, or else it's just a bunch of different pictures that you layered on top of one another in Photoshop, and we can just do that if we want, but the idea is, the challenge is that you have to incorporate these things into the environment. So what I also wanted to show you was how somebody went ahead and built one. Okay, so just to give you a sense, this started as this environment, but this isn't even the real environment because they've gone ahead and they've done a bunch of stuff to this. So really, this started as this image right here, and I'll just kind of build up the layers. So first they went ahead and they put like a kind of washed out kind of purple hue on here, utilizing let's see, it's locked so I can't edit it. They really wanted to make sure that nobody messed with anything here, so there we are. Let's see, hue and saturation, right? And they colorized it. And then they went ahead and they masked out part of this because they didn't want that to show. And then they masked out this back sky here. They wanted to put 2 different skies in. And then they went ahead and they made it darker utilizing brightness contrast. Okay. Then they went ahead and they put in Princess Zelda. Let's take a look at her. So they cut her out and they put her there, right? And they put a shadow underneath her. And they then put a shadow on top of her. And they just painted these things in. And they changed her levels. And look when they did that. She went from gold to purple. And then they changed her brightness. And then they went ahead and this layer 1, I don't think it is anything. And this is why we want to name our layers, because I don't know what that is. It's kind of code for something. Now let's see, Link. Let's open that up. Okay, so they put him right here in the foreground, and then they put a shadow underneath him. And look at that. That's just that little patch of color right there. They played around with his levels, made him a little more green, and they made him a little darker with brightness contrast. Ganon. Let's see. There, they made him. There's the undershadow, right? Played around with his levels, kind of normalized his color a little bit, put some shadows right on top of him, and then again did his brightness. So listen, like this is just wash, rinse, and repeat over and over and over again. And then the game editions here that they have, these are things like, let's see, hearts and scrollers and the map. And the map, you know, like what they did is they went ahead, they put the map, there's the parchment of the map. They lowered the opacity of that to 24, and then they have the map separate. Because, again, that's what it looked like in the game, right? So that this way they can control the opacity of one, you know, versus, you know, and then the opacity of the other, essentially, versus, you know, just having them be the same exact thing. So that's pretty clever if you think about it. Let's see, the underneath levels, that's these things here. And again, look, they faded them out. They easily could have put them on a single layer, but instead they decided to do everything separate. Here's the rupees, right? Here's the knockout words. Here's the level bar. Again, all that could have been done separately, but they put those little pieces on there, and that really worked out. And then to tie it all together, they tossed a photo filter on here, and they put like a purplish photo filter on there, and that helped tie this entire image together. So it's a lot of the same stuff that you've been doing already with your composites. It's a lot of wash, rinse, and repeat. Obviously, it's a lot of selections too. You know, I just built this up. Everything had to be selected and brought over here, obviously, before this. But, you know, it's practice, and it's practice of the mechanics, essentially, to build this, you know, this image. So remember, at the end of the day, a theme is going to help. It's a fake image, but we want that fake image to look as real as possible. And ultimately have fun with it. If you enjoy your project, you have fun with your project, you're going to make a better project. If you just slap 7 random images onto an image and they look like stickers that, you know, don't interact with the image at all, you're probably not going to have fun with the project. It's not going to be successful. So enjoy it and have fun with it. And if you have problems, please feel free to, you know, reach out. Last but certainly not least, what we want to make sure that we do is we want to create this thing with layers in mind, right? That's definitely what we want to do. But when we're done with a project, what we want to do is we want to flatten it. But we don't want to flatten the layered copy, right? We want to keep that one. So what we tend to do is go to Image and Duplicate. And it'll create a second copy for us, right? And that copy just hangs out in the RAM, right? And if I go ahead and I tap through my views in Photoshop, so you'll see how there's one here and there's a second one here, right? And what I want to do is I want to flatten my object. And I kind of did this a little bit when we were merging, but I want to do it intentionally now. So to flatten, I'm going to come over here onto the layer palette. I'm going to click on this little drop-down menu and I'm going to say flatten. And it's going to ask us if we want to discard in layers. So those are layers that are turned off. The eyeballs are turned off. So I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to go ahead and say File and Save As. And we're going to just save this onto my desktop really quickly. And here it is, Surreal Image. And I'm just going to call it Flat. And I'm going to go ahead and just push that right there onto my desktop. I'm also going to go ahead and do a save as, and I'm going to save this one more time, but not as a PSD, but as a JPEG. And I'm going to say save to that. And when I save things as a JPEG essentially is just a generic file format. I can open it up in pretty much anything. And I'm going to make sure that this is always a large file and that this always is baseline standard. And essentially, this is going to allow you to be able to share your work with absolutely anybody, because they can look at this in pretty much any software. JPEGs are that generic. They can work everywhere. Versus a native file format like Photoshop that you really just need Photoshop to use it, to open it, or you don't have anything. So I'll say okay to that too. And I just want to point a couple things out, right, in regards to this. And that simply is sizes. So let's see. Here is my original one, and that's 54.4, so 55 megabytes. Here's my flattened one, and that is 10 megabytes, 10 or 11 megabytes. So that's about 1/5 of the size. And here's the JPEG. That is 4.3. So that's 1/10, actually less than 1/10. It's maybe like 1/12 of the original one. And it's still the same image. It really is. Okay? It's just that what we have are, we've got just a more portable one that we can then go ahead and put out somewhere else. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you save down in those multiple formats when you're done. You want your layers, so you can always go back and you can access things and you can fix things, and you can basically repair your files if necessary. You want a flat Photoshop document, because it's just a condensed version. If you're going to send something to print, or if you're going to send something to a client, they probably want a Photoshop document, but you'll give them a flat one instead. And last but not least, to share it, to put on the internet, to put it in an email, you want a JPEG, which essentially is also a flat file. So in the end, you're going to want 3 files: layered, flat, and a JPEG. And that will do it for your final assignment for this class. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. Thank you.